I think for all the years that I've been working with youth, the one best piece of advice that I could give, or the best lesson that I've learned, is that if we as adults ever get to a point where we're not sure what youth need or how youth might be a valuable asset to addressing a situation, simply ask them. That we often try to kind of second guess or make assumptions about and how to fit youth into the equation, and simply asking them, they will tell you. And I think the other thing is that we often want to engage youth, but again don't know how or think there's only certain places or ways that that can or should happen. And I think that that sometimes keeps us from doing anything because we think, well, it doesn't really work for our situation, or there's not a place to do that. And I think the reality is that it doesn't need to be formal, it doesn't need to be every aspect of what you do, but start somewhere. And that there's probably a role for youth and what their input, their perspective in almost every aspect of what any organization does. And so simply taking that step to dive in and start doing it, even if it means figuring out the logistics along the way, changing meeting times that you didn't remember you were going to need to change if you wanted youth there. Any of those kind of elements that seem like barriers, I think if we overthink it too much, we end up doing nothing. And instead, jump into it, bring them in. They will help work in partnership with you to figure out how to make it all happen logistically, but just get started and the rest will follow.
I think that when adults are putting together youth adult partnership organizations, that the most important thing to do is not to assume to only get like the cream of the crop, the top slice of the cake, only the best students, because then you're only going to get very similar opinions on a lot of things. And what I love about Every Voice in Action is that we have like such a huge mix of people. Like we've got a valedictorian at a charter school, and then we have someone who dropped out of high school. So we're getting like two completely polar opposite spectrums, and it gives us huge insight into everything. So diversity in terms of economic status, educational level, I think that that's hugely important for adults to consider when they're picking youth.